I've got a couple of questions for you. So, number one is a wealth tax a good idea?
Oh, interesting.
Number two is, can we continue to disincentivise working by adding taxes to people and refusing to cut costs from people that are abusing the system?
Okay, excellent questions. Hannah, wealth taxes and working people and incentivising work.
Not much then. Yes, so I think wealth taxes, plural, you need a combination of them, in the end are going to be necessary. We have seen in this period, we are living in a very different situation where you have high concentrations of wealth among a relatively small proportion of the population and huge wealth inequality, which is creating lots of effects that we wouldn't want. I think the kind of flat wealth tax is complicated, and we certainly don't have the institutional capacity to realise it yet. But again, I think the government should be beginning the work on that, not least because even if you want to realise the revenues from your current taxes or whatever she proposes on Wednesday, you are going to need to sort out your data institutional capacity. We don't even know how many billionaires we have in this country, let alone know how much tax they're paying. And that's a point of embarrassment, and it should be for the government. But within that, there's something we could do more immediately, which is the government could finish the job it started on equalising capital gains tax so that people pay the same effective tax rate for income from work and income from other things such as shares and stocks and investments. And I think that would be sensible. But, and this is a bit that often gets missed, you know, it is ignored that we also need to do the reform of the base for that tax. We need the simplification of the whole thing. We need allowances for investments to better address that so people aren't penalised. And we need exit, that we need something to deal with the exit, okay. And the forgiveness that we currently give on death, which is just unjustifiable.
Okay, and incentivising work, just very briefly.
Incentivising work. I think the government has set out in the white paper some really core measures to incentivise work. I will tell you that from the work that we have done, punitive sanctions do not better incentivise work. People are really struggling with ill health from the pandemic. That's roughly in line with where the NHS would put it as well. Okay. So this is genuine claims. What you need to do is invest in supporting people with better engagement, background that conditionality and those threats of sanctions, and actually support people into longer term good jobs.
Okay, well, we've got 1 million people who are NEETs, not in education, employment or training at the moment, so it's a big issue for the government, which I think that they are trying to address. We'll see how far they get. Gerard?
Yeah, in answer to Kevin's first question, no, wealth taxes are not the route to go down to. Basically, in the UK, we seem to always think we can have simple answers, and the wealth tax has suddenly been proposed as a simple answer that diverts us from actually getting public spending under control and stopping other taxes going up further. Billionaires are few and far between, but the reality is that their capital is mobile, so they can move. Countries have tried wealth taxes across the globe, and they have not worked. Initially, there were 12 OECD countries that had wealth taxes. That shrunk to 3. Then Colombia joined the OECD. So we only have 4 countries across the world, Norway, Spain, Switzerland and Colombia, that have wealth taxes. Their thresholds are now different. Rates are very different, partly because they didn't hit the wealthy, they hit the middle class. There was a big paper that came out earlier this year by Advani, Chambers and Summers, Advani et al. Gus O'Donnell endorsed it as a case for wealth taxes. I read the whole 90 pages. In it, it said at just the 1% wealth tax, it said between 7 and 17% of the tax base would be lost, i.e. they go overseas, which it said would not be insignificant. Also, interestingly, it said, well, those people with wealth of more than 5 million, 87% are linked to businesses. And the danger, as they implied, is that if you start to hit wealth, it sounds easy, but you hit businesses. It's not that I love billionaires or anything like that. I think the reality is that we have to address the problem. And that came in Kevin's second question, which is that we can't tax people all the time for working. You have to actually cut your cloth accordingly. Yes. And we need to make the UK competitive.
Well, Lakshmi Mittal will be happy to hear what you're saying, but he's already probably packed his bags and going to Dubai from what we read in the papers. Thank you, Kevin, for those questions.